Ireland has officially taken over the 6-month rotating presidency of the EU Council, succeeding Cyprus. Ireland will steer negotiations among the other 26 member states and craft delicate, sometimes fragile, compromises that can satisfy all the disparate voices in the room. At the very top of Ireland's to-do list is a new package of sanctions against Russia, which this time comes with a hard deadline for July the 15th. If there is no deal by then, the EU will automatically revise its price cap on Russian oil. Because of ongoing disruption on the energy market, the formula will push the cap well beyond the current $44 per barrel and grant Moscow economic relief, a politically untenable scenario. Regarding enlargement, Ireland is keen to unblock the 5 remaining clusters with Ukraine, but is aware of Budapest's entrenched reluctance. Dublin hopes that 1 or 2 clusters could be opened before the summer break, with the remaining ones addressed gradually afterwards. Ireland will have to tackle the next 7-year EU budget head-on. The previous presidency drew the ire of the frugal countries after proposing a moderate 2% cut to the Commission's original €2 trillion blueprint. Ireland will be tasked with coming up with revised numbers for each heading, hoping to find a sustainable middle ground between those who want to preserve the traditional envelope, namely agriculture and cohesion, and those who want to bolster the modern priorities such as climate action, innovation, technology and defense. A foreign container ship ran aground in the shallow waters on the Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday, as Tehran continues to insist on maintaining control on the key waterway, according to Iranian state television and multiple Iranian official sources. Iran claimed the grounding was linked to the vessel not using Iran's approved route. Iranian state television gave no further details about the identity or the nationality of the vessel. The boat is believed to have been using the Oman Corridor, established last week by Muscat in coordination with the International Maritime Organization as an alternative to Iran's designated route. Tehran said it would only guarantee safe navigation for vessels that coordinate their passage through the Iranian corridor. The grounding is the latest flashpoint in a dispute over who controls navigation through the strait. Iran's position that it holds sovereignty authority over the waterway and may designate approved routes and eventually charge transit fees directly contradicts long-standing international law and the position of the US, the Gulf states, and most of the international community, who regard the strait as an international waterway.
Three civilians were reported killed following Russian strikes on Ukraine on Wednesday, as a fuel crisis and long-range attacks on Russian oil facilities continue to put pressure on Moscow. 17 drones hit targets at 16 locations, according to Ukraine's Air Force. The strikes came amid a drop in Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukraine in June. Analysis of the attack shows drone strikes were down 29% and missile strikes down 15% compared to May. Over the past few months, Ukraine has stepped up its own attacks on Russian oil facilities and military plants. On Wednesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian forces struck Russia's major Ufa oil refinery for the second time in a week. Many regions of Russia, one of the world's biggest energy producers, have introduced fuel rationing. Over the past several weeks, Ukrainian forces have dealt a series of blows to Russia's logistics and energy infrastructure, which analysts say has given Ukraine an edge on the battlefield.
The European Union cannot sacrifice its industry due to climate change, Manfred Weber, president of the European People's Party, told Euronews, as a brutal heat wave sweeping across Europe claimed around 1,300 lives. In recent years, the EPP has rolled back parts of the Green Deal, the package of policies designed to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions across the bloc by 2050 in a bid to prioritize competitiveness.
My party is Ursula von der Leyen party. My party is the party who did the Green Deal in the last mandate, and we fully support the Green Deal. It's our responsibility in today's world to deliver on these aspects. What we are asking for is to be reasonable in the business aspect, and that is what we are. We cannot kill our industry due to climate change.
Weber said using air conditioning was a necessity, even though it generates heat and contributes to greenhouse gas emissions when powered by fossil fuels.
It's a necessity, no doubt about this. In former times it was no question at all that we need heating in the north of Europe because it's colder there. There's no question. And today, if climate change, if hotter temperatures are arriving, we need also air conditioning.
On the issue of migration, Weber slashed Spain's plan to regularize undocumented migrants, calling it an issue for other EU countries. The regularization has recently attracted more than 1 million applications. The EPP leader also defended the EU legislation allowing the establishment of return centres for irregular migrants outside the bloc.
The European Parliament is set to trigger a procedure against the Europe of Sovereign Nations Party, home of Alternative for Germany and other far-right political forces across Europe. If ESN is found to have failed to uphold the core values of the European Union, it could be stripped of its right to be registered as a European political party and lose its funding. A report by the Authority for European Political Parties and Foundations, tasked with assessing the compliance, highlights anti-Semitic, anti-LGBT and anti-migrant rhetoric in court rulings, statements and social media posts by ESN members that could constitute proof of violation of EU values. The Parliament now has to confirm the decision in a vote to be held next Tuesday in Strasbourg. Once the Parliament triggers the procedure, ESN could still take corrective measures before the authority decides whether or not to deregister the party. The ESN party was founded in August 2024 by 8 far-right European parties, led by AfD and including Poland's Confederation and France's Reconquête. It is a separate legal entity from the ESN political group in the European Parliament, which is formed by the same political forces and currently composed of 27 MEPs. Neither the group in the Parliament nor the lawmakers will face any consequence if ESN loses its status as a European party. A Maltese tycoon accused of ordering the murder of hard-hitting investigative journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia went on trial on Wednesday. Suspect Jorgen Fenech is charged with orchestrating the assassination of Caruana Galizia, a prominent public figure and vocal critic who was killed by a bomb placed in her car near her home in 2017. She had exposed corruption at the highest level in the country, shining a spotlight on murky links between Malta's business and political elites. Her death sparked outrage around the world and put Malta, the European Union's smallest member state, in the spotlight over its apparent rule of law failings. Fenech, a tycoon whose business interests spanned the energy and tourism sectors, was arrested on his yacht in 2019 as he tried to sail out of Malta after a middleman in the murder was offered a pardon to identify those involved. 5 people have been convicted so far in relation to the murder for supplying the explosives and carrying out the killing.
The death toll from the devastating earthquakes that struck northern Venezuela last week has risen to 1,943, according to authorities. A further 10,571 people have been injured and 28,380 are receiving care in hospitals or temporary camps following the quakes, according to Jorge Rodriguez, the president of the country's National Assembly. Meanwhile, ordinary Venezuelans have been mobilizing in extraordinary numbers to offer their assistance alongside doctors.
Quisiéramos ir al área de rescate, de poder seguir esperando a los que aún estén con vida. Sin embargo, también hay un gran trabajo en el área de patología y en el ayudar a las personas que están buscando a sus desaparecidos a que por lo menos los identifiquen y tengan sus cuerpos para que reciban dignidad también para sepultarlos.
The 24th of June, back-to-back 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude tremors have caused widespread destruction as the UN estimates tens of thousands of people are missing. More than 6,450 people have been found alive as of Tuesday, with a further 17,500 able to escape by themselves, according to Venezuela's government. UNICEF has estimated that around 1.8 million people, including 680,000 children, require humanitarian assistance following the quake.
U.S. President Donald Trump made more than $1 billion from his cryptocurrency businesses last year, according to financial disclosures released on Tuesday. Asked about criticisms that he was using his position to enrich himself, Trump insisted that his wealth was due to his prior career, despite the fact that the earnings were related to crypto ventures launched during his first year back in the White House.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k done? It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump. So we're all profiting. I'm profiting because I have a lot of money and a lot of cash, and I give it to institutions. I don't know if they know what they're doing or not, but they buy a vast array of things.
Barely established when he was sworn in, Trump's crypto businesses now generate more revenue than large parts of the property empire he spent decades assembling with his family. Two ventures account for the bulk of the crypto windfall. World Liberty Financial, launched by his sons in 2024, brought in more than $500 million, and a separate business tied to the Trump meme coin generated a further $635 million from token sales. While in power, Trump has enacted measures to deregulate the sector, causing asset prices to soar. The president's crypto activities are the main reason for the near tripling of his personal fortune.